maybe BRICS, Shanghai, or region can do in the global order. In that context, in that manner, I think it's also fair to say that without having a clear definition of the current state of international politics, without having a clear definition of different forces at the global levels, we cannot really talk about Shanghai or BRICS. We should have a type of picture at the international level. On that base, then we can proceed to say what is the role which Shanghai or BRICS can play in that context. In this manner, I don't know if you are ready for that. Give us about 1 minute or 2 minutes, your understanding, your conceptions of today's international politics, in what manner you define the current situation at the international politics. Do you see it a type of influx? Do you see it a type of transition? What is your definition about current situation at international politics? I start from the left, from the China perspective, on what is your view about the current situation at the international level?
Thank you, moderator. I think my answer to this question is simple, because nowadays the most notable phenomenon, a very historical phenomenon, is the collective rising of global south, and which is the driving force for changes unseen in centuries in international order. And it's a really irresistible historical trend, because nowadays the global south already accounts for 40% of the global economy and contributes to 80% of the global growth. And with that, global south has become a key in maintaining peace, driving development, and improving governance globally. As President Xi Jinping has pointed out, the global south has grown remarkably and played a pivotal role in advancing human progress. United, the global south will be more capable and confident in making its voice heard, advancing an equal and orderly multipolar order, and universally beneficial and inclusive economic globalization, and take the lead in building the community with a shared future for mankind. I think that is the global context when we discuss BRICS and SOC. Yeah.
And may I just push you a little bit on that one? Do you see global thought as part of our imagination or reality? Is it part of reality, global thought, or it is part of our imagination of what will comes in the future? Because I think we in Iran, we use global thought in different fashion. I just want to push you a little bit on that one, and maybe the other as well, to give me a clear understanding of when we talk about global thought, are we thinking and talking about a reality, or is something which is part of our imagination about what could happen in the future? What would be your answer?
I think it's not imagination, because just now I already mentioned the share of developing countries in the global economy and its contribution. That is reality. economically, but also politically, and in the global governance and peacekeeping, we have a growing important role in all those fronts.
I don't want to push more, but you will tell us that Global South is a unitary actor in international politics, or is composed of different actors with different mission, with different ideas of the world, and with different platform of behavior. Tell us something.
Professor, thank you so much for raising a very provocative issue.
Okay.
Now, I come from India.
Okay.
Mahatma Gandhi was once asked about his opinion about the Western civilization.
Mm-hmm.
He immediately said, it's a very wonderful idea to have.
Oh, yeah.
Global South is something like that at the moment. What is Global South? Mm-hmm. Is Australia in the southern hemisphere a part of Global South? Uh-huh. Is Eastern Europe in the northern hemisphere? Is it a part of Global South? Global South defies definition today. Mm-hmm. What is actually happening is those countries which used to be described as developing countries in the past have today come together and start to raise united voice. That is generally being talked about as Global South. It's not geographical. There is nothing called south of the globe and north of the globe. Okay. So it's an imaginary concept, but I must only caution here that when we talk about Global South, we must understand that we are in the transition period of our global order. Okay. One global order which created in the last century after Second World War has now become almost dysfunctional. They are not working. Okay. UN is not working. Okay. Security Council is not working. A new one is yet to be formed. We are in the transition period. In the transition, many forces, many regional groups will come up. Those regional groups include BRICS, those include Shanghai Cooperation Organization, they also include GCC, they also include the African Union. There will be several such groups. They all will be stakeholders in the so-called Global South. So Global South need not be seen as again a hegemonic organization. Somebody will lead it. No. It is regional groupings that will raise their voice. Regional groupings will be the temporary future until we find a new order for the whole world.
And then you can call Global South as a force of change?
Oh, of course, different. Global South will include different regional, minilateral, plurilateral organizations. They all will be relevant for raising the voice of what we call as the Global South in a very broader, in a very romantic sense.
Okay. And your view?
Coming back to your first question, what is the time that we're living?
Yeah.
I totally agree that this is the transition, because we had the perfect storm for multilateralism, and indeed the order that was created right after the Second World War is becoming dysfunctional. But we are still not in the world of multipolarity. And this is the process. I would recall the one Russian poetry who said, a very famous one, that revolution has its start, but revolution has its any end. So that is why I think that this transition is the permanent change of the order with the emergency, or with emerging new centers, new polarities. How it will take the shape, it's upon to the states and not only. I absolutely align myself with the statement that ex-minister Javad Zarif just mentioned. We have to take into account not only states, but also non-state actors.
Okay, and let me just add, as you mentioned, Russia, once Khrushchev...
I spoke on Russian poet.
Okay, that's good. Once Khrushchev said that we will bury the liberal bureaucracy, and South wants to do that? Or it is something maybe...
Government. I do not represent any government. So.
No. I'm just trying to push a little bit discussion into a concrete result, because I do believe that we do have many definitional ambiguity. And because of those definitional ambiguity, our discussion never gets to the real points. It's start and end in abstract. Therefore, I would like, and I was thinking about how to manage the discussion to concretely come to a certain point of views which all of us can take with us and go home. Therefore, I would like to know, because not in Iran, in many corners of the world, when the concept of global south is used, it is used in a manner that it is aimed to challenge the West, to challenge the liberal democracy. Do you buy that argument, or you do have an alternative definition to that one?
I have no any definition what means global south in terms of its political narratives. But your aspiration to reach the final definition for some phenomena is commendable, but unfortunately not reachable. Because here in this room even, we have many different ideas. I'm running the Secretariat of Multilateralism with 28 member states, and every and each member state has its own narrative to explain their approaches within the multilateral structure. So I think that yes, global south, the general perception of global south is something against West. But should we stick to these paradigms of the 19th century, of 20th century, when we thought that, okay, 19th century was Europeanized, the 20th century was Americanized, and what is now? Is it Asia? So this is why it is very tricky to say what is the definition of global south. Everyone will push its own vision according to their own national interests, which are also in the permanent change.
You know, that's one of the, I think, one of the tasks of this type of gathering is to bring sometimes some type of communal understanding of the phenomena which are interested to us. If you just want to, and I will come to my right part of the panel, which part of the South Asia is interesting for you and you like to share it with us in order to make a type of common ground for understanding of the issue of Asia or the South, or related type of label which we use right now. Because without having a type of common understanding, our discussion will not lead to any type of conclusion. Do you have any suggestion for us that when you talk about Global South, when you talk about Asia, you do have a definition, you can offer it to us, and then we can think about that, and we can then move from that normative base.
Can I quickly take
1
minute? You see, this discussion should go back again to the international order under which we lived for about 7 decades. That order was described as international liberal order. What we are experiencing at present is neither international, quote unquote. It is more regional, more interest-based. It is not just liberal, it is more of conservative, not illiberal, but it is more of conservative. Right now, it looks like there is no order. It is utter disorder right now. But we are slowly, gradually evolving an order. So this will be regional, conservative order which will come into place. But conservative, when I say, not in quote-unquote conservative, something that will have liberal ideas also, but something that will value your national sentiments, something that will respect your national cultures, which gives space to national identities. That kind of a world order where each culture, each civilization, each national identity is respected, protected, this pluralism is accepted. Nobody needs to put everything together in that, box called liberalism. Everyone should fit into that framework. No, that may not be the kind of future that we will be building now. So it will have regional interests dominating it. It will have national sentiments dominating it. Still, there will be a new kind of order that will come into place in 21st century.
Great. You, sir.
Thank you. Let me first answer the first two questions which you have put, my dear colleague. One is about, the first one was about the situation present day as we see it.
Yeah.
I would cite the respected, distinguished chairman of the People's Republic of China, Mr. Xi Jinping, who said that we are now witnessing the changes which the world hasn't seen for more than 100 years.
That's correct.
And what is meant by that? First of all, a transition, as my colleague said, from unipolar world to multipolar world. But also a lot of other things which we can see, like very rapid development of new technologies, like substitution of a lot of processes and labors by artificial intelligence, by robots, and so on. Even the character and types of war today is changing. We can see system of distribution of the world wealth is also changing. And that's why that is, I think, a very good characteristics of the situation in today's world.
Can I just raise one question on your definition, and then you can proceed on the second part? Is it fair if one tell you that we are moving from one balance of power to a new balance of power? Is it really characterizing the current situation in that terms? We are leaving one type of balance of power and we are entering a new balance of power. This is what you mean? Or because we do have two options, either we see the changes in terms of new poles, new balance of power, new great powers, or do we think there are some deep down changes which created a new international arena? Which of these two is your idea?
I think my personal perception is that a new balance of power is already there.
Okay.
There is no any country or superpower which is completely dominating the whole world. There is a number of centers of power in today's world now. And as you asked about BRICS and Global South, I think the formation of BRICS itself is just a good illustration of so-called global South. What is Global South? I agree with my colleagues that it is something abstract, not legally formed. But at the same time, it is definitely not the so-called collective West. It is definitely not United States. So it is a number of countries which the composition of which may depend on the concrete observer. But the main reason for formation of this BRICS, which is illustration, as we say, illustration of global South, the main reason for BRICS was just to associate countries, developing countries, to implement more fair, more suitable rules of interaction with each other. Because a lot of people consider that the world order which was formed after the World War II was not very fair, including distribution of currency, distribution of wealth, distribution of manufacturing capacities, and so on.
And if one asks you, as Secretary General of Shanghai, what kind of role Shanghai can play or will play in that evolving international politics, what would be your answer?
I will say not as an analyst because I am now official.
Okay.
SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, was formed not on the basis of, not because of the so-called Global South and the formation of a new world order. The reason for formation of the so-called Shanghai Five initially was settling of the border issues between China and the former Soviet Union's republics. And after this issue has been solved, the heads of state decided to continue their cooperation. And today, SCO is a multifaceted universal organization which also deals with issues of international security, international stability, countering different threats and challenges of today's world. That's why the role of SCO is to, first of all, to assist member countries to provide sustainable development in peaceful and stable environment.
And your view?
May I share my observation first regarding the whole discussion on SCO and BRICS? Even the very design of this panel, when we put together SCO and BRICS, as if they are substitutes or like-minded, or they are like-minded because they both operate on the idea that the interest of various countries should be taken into account, and the development in peace and prosperity is the key mission of the two institutions. But at the same time, SCO is largely focused on the regional aspects of that cooperation, and BRICS, since it has representatives of various continents all across the globe, we have the aspiration and the expectation that BRICS will take part in shaping this new global world order while doing the same, almost the same work as the SCO is trying to do and is continuing to do. But my question is, when we constantly advocate for a new multipolar world and are awaiting this time when we can officially say this multipolar world has established, do we understand how difficult it will be to run that multipolar world order? We have two distinguished excellencies who are in charge of two multilateral institutions, and they won't let me make a mistake in stating that how difficult it is to run even small multilateral institution, let alone large, globally universal multilateral institutions. And the expansion of BRICS, which from one standpoint was an answer to the interest of those countries who want to foster that kind of cooperation and that kind of transition to a multipolar world, managed to accommodate their interests. But at the same time, the recent meetings in Brazil demonstrate that it's becoming harder and harder to incorporate not even cross-regional interests, but even interests within one continent of several countries of that continent. So I think that we have to both foster and advocate for a multipolar world, but at the same time recognize the challenges that transition will bring.
You used two terms interchangeably, multipolarism and multilateralism. Do you see both of them as one, or do you see them addressing different?
Of course, they're qualitatively different. The current world order is multilateral. We are all part of the United Nations.
Is multipolar or multilateral?
Multilateral. I mean, multilateral means whatever we are doing is already multilateral.
Because multilateral is a pattern of relationship. Multipolar is a type of structure. Because I think if we think about current situation as a different structure, structurally different from the past, or the pattern of behavior in this world is different from the pattern of behavior from the past. Which of these is your argument?
I don't think that the human nature is changing as fast as to declare that we are fundamentally different than 100 years ago or 80 years ago when the United Nations was created. and BRICS is not going to replace, and it doesn't have the goal of and the aspiration of interchanging the current international structure, meaning the way of international and global governance. But at the same time, the way the interests of certain groups of countries are accommodated in international institutions, that is exactly what BRICS wants to use as a negotiating position. I here have to quote the foreign minister of my country, Sergei Lavrov, who said, "We're not fighting to defeat somebody, but we're fighting for a balance of interests in the current international institutions." And one of the issues that BRICS is debating at this point is how do we reform the permanent membership and the Security Council of the United Nations. BRICS is not going to replace that, but there has to be some change, gradual change in international structures.
I raised that issue, and I would like our friends to also comment on that, because I think the connotation of some of our argument is that the world is still shaped by great powers. There is nothing changing that one. But the great powers which shape the world are changing, not the nature of the influence which shape the events at the international politics. Because in that context, we mean that we have three great powers right now: China, Russia, United States, and these three are trying to shape the future of international politics. Is it the fair understanding of your argument?
I would volunteer to add India. And not just because we have a representative of India in the panel, but because we are part of the original group of countries who shaped BRICS.
No. My main point is that the nature of politics remain the same. Still, great powers are shaping the international politics. Nothing is happening in the nature.
I would just say both yes and no. Okay. Yes, in a way that, of course, we cannot ignore the power that so-called great powers have and utilize to defend their national interests. But at the same time, we see a growing influence of middle powers who are now taking the initiative on the regional level to shape regional institutions and to have a united voice. And I hear the appeal on the side of the officials and intellectuals in the Islamic Republic of Iran who say that we have to volunteer this change in the region. And I think that's the gradual process of shifting.
Because the consequence of our discussion is that we still have a pole that the actors in international politics should actually fly around those poles. There is nothing changing that one. But the name of the poles actually changed. If yesterday satellites should fly around the United States, today they need to fly around a new name. Is it really the case? Or we are talking about a new coming age of international politics? Because if we are talking about a new coming, we don't know about the exact characteristic of international politics. But on that definitional standpoint, we try to suggest that we are getting a little bit diverse from what was happening in the past. We are entering a fragmented and diffused world. In that fragmented and diffused world, there is no place for any satellites. Okay, you go ahead.
First and foremost, I would say that multipolarity badly needs and desperately needs multilateralism.
Okay.
So without multilateralism, you see I'm right.
Okay, yeah.
Supporting my voice.
Exactly.
Multilateralism is not a behavior, it's a system.
Yeah.
And multipolarity needs more multilateralism. And it is great that you're mentioning about the diffusing or fragmentation. I would say that from the other perspectives, it's a forming of the new multipolarity with the new instrument of multilateralism.
Okay.
BRICS, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and CICA, the Conference on Interaction and Conference Building Measures. This is the example of new instrument of multilateralism to adjust the global order to the new phenomenon of multipolarity. What that means? First, if Shanghai Cooperation Organization is more or less more stick to the security-related issues, because it was burned from the border issues, from the conference building measures on the border between former Soviet Union and the succeeding republics, and China from one side. BRICS, it was, I think, the major idea was to create a more democratic financial world with its new instruments. And CICA is just the initiative of a middle power, which has no any ambition to dominate. The ambition of Kazakhstan, who proposed the CICA initiative back in 1992, was to create the sufficient environment for all those who are living in the continent without agreed rules, agreed structure. So CICA is the initiative of middle power and very much successful. In the beginning it was only 15, but nowadays it's 28, covering practically the entire Asia, 90%. And what is the unique membership of CICA? We do have within it the largest territorially country like Russia. We have China, we have India inside. We have also middle powers as a chair. For instance, Tajikistan chaired the CICA. Kazakhstan previously, currently Azerbaijan is chairing this huge organization. So this is the multipolarity, which means not the domination only in major powers.
Okay.
The role of middle powers now.
Then there is a strategic space for middle power.
This is
to
the
project power.
wonderful,
Okay.
conducive environment.
Okay.
Because the multilateralism means equal rights.
Okay.
Because multilateralism means the respect of mutual interests.
Okay.
This is the multilateral system usually are invited to create the sufficient area for those who wish to work closely. And even, for instance, again, I'm coming back to the visionary statement of Mr. Javad Zarif.
Okay.
He said that we should change our approach to the global issues, to the international affairs, from the paradigm of seeing enemy, rather to see the opportunities. And our platform, our CICA as the forum, has some countries which do not recognize each other,
Okay.
including, for instance, Iran and Israel. And this is the opportunity for both, for India, for Russia, for Bahrain, for Sri Lanka. So this is the new approach to the multipolarity through the multilateralism. Thank you.
How about China?
Yes, I'm going to follow question the colleagues from CICA. I think China has a very similar approach or mindset or philosophy. When we talk about multilateralism, we are not only talking about power, how much GDP or that. We are talking about mindset. That is how we share the responsibility regarding the global issues and how we share the benefits. So it's like CICA, we emphasize cooperation, dialogue over confrontation, and partnership over alliance, and win-win cooperation over zero-sum game. So if we are talking about the change or transition of the global order, it's driven by maybe growth of economic growth, but also featured of the different mindset. So although it's a kind of extensive consultation and fair benefit sharing.
Then we are maybe facing a new model of China's behavior in international politics, totally different from the way which great powers behave in
Professor,
international politics.
I hope you may already sense some difference.
And what would
compared
be the change?
Between China and the United States. It's not the same. And I also want to say that why we have the term Global South, it's not, there's not one size for a clear definition for that, of course, but for the Global South, we have quite something in common. We have the common history of anti-hegemonism, and we all suffer, although maybe in different way from...
But great powers is different from hegemony. Hegemony is a type of behavior of great powers. My question was rather, do you see China fundamentally different in behavior from the past great powers' behavior at the international scene, or?
My answer is clear, but I think maybe the audience also have the same answer, that we are not treating the developing countries in the same way as United States or European Union. We always, we know what the developing countries have suffered in the past, and China, among the countries, we suffer the same. So we asked to be treated equally by United States and European Union. Also, we treat other colleagues, other developing countries in the same way.
And how about India?
Professor, may I also have a question to you?
Okay.
So you didn't see any difference between China and the United States? So you raised that question. It's a bit
no.
astonishing to me.
It's a theoretical question, because I think what I try to say is, first of all, multilateralism is not something new. Multilateralism is something which was in international politics for centuries. It's not new. Multipolarity is also something not... Actually, 19th century is the century of multipolarism. It's not something new. We are back, maybe, right now. What I was really trying to push everybody to answer is that, do we believe that the past will reproduce itself in a new fashion, or do we entering a new era in international politics? Because I think the discussion needs to address this fundamental concern, and then after that one may comes to the conclusion that China is a great power different from the great powers which we witness right now, up to now, or it's the same. This is not one question, but let me go to India. Let me raise my question.
Yes.
Don't answer your question. Do you think that India is behaving on the basis of geopolitics right now in international politics, or is running its foreign policy on a new basis?
Oh, obviously, yes. Because we realize that however much we may also want to pay lip sympathy to multilateralism created, how do we protect it and all that, we know that the world is changing. I can, in 5 seconds, give how we see 5 changes happening. 1, decline of the West. 2, rise of China. 3, collapse of the multilateral institutions created in the last century. 4, in their place being taken by minilaterals and middle powers. And 5, the heteropolar forces rising. When I say heteropolar forces, that includes regional groupings and also non-state actors, about which there was a reference earlier. Today, Elon Musk is also very important in global politics. Today, an Apple is also very important in global politics. Today, a so-called terrorist organization is also very important. Why I'm saying so-called is, until yesterday, we called them terrorists, global terrorists. We designated them as UN designated terrorists. Today, they are the presidents of the countries. So things are changing. We are in a very heteropolar situation. India wants to play a very, very responsible role in this heteropolar setup. A new world order is emerging. Don't be afraid of it. Don't think that the world should not change. Change is integral to this behavior of the world. Multilateralism, we are saying so. We are paying so much sympathy to it. Did the multilateral experiment in 1920 succeed? When Woodrow Wilson created League of Nations, it could not survive for even 10 years. Died. It's natural death. And then UN. Can you surely tell us that UN has really functioned as a real multilateral institution in last 70 years? WTO was the last organization created by UN, never respected by big powers in the country.
May I interrupt you friendly? Do you, because if I want to use a metaphor used by Marx, we witness change, but the change are by nature different. We do have some qualitative change and some quantitative change. And do you believe that we are witnessing a type of quantitative change in international politics? And if yes, what is the response of India? What is the new pattern of relationship which India tried to tailor for the new coming international politics?
So I just want to conclude with that one point. So when we say that we are living in a heteropolar setup,
okay,
we need to work with different minilateral groupings like Shanghai Cooperation Organization, BRICS, but also we are a part of Quad.
Okay, yeah.
That's also a kind of an arrangement in one region. We are friends with other powers in the world. So countries have to work with different kinds of groupings because we don't have an alternative to the previous order emerged already in the world yet. It will take some time. During that period, many interests will play. We have to ensure one thing, that in this new order, no repeat of the last century. Again, of bipolarity, hegemonic politics, they should not return. A genuine multipolarity, genuine heteropolarity is what should be the way forward, where every small group should have a place to play a role. That kind of multilateralism is to be built in this century. I agree, not easy, but nothing is easy. As I said, Woodrow Wilson's dreams could not survive for 10 years. It will take time.
Okay, if I come to you, sir, the international regional institution which we used to know were built after the World War II, 1945, up to maybe 2000. And a new type of institutions needed right now because the old institutions are useless in a sense. Do you believe that Shanghai by itself is international organization, or it can push a type of generating new type of international and regional organization suited for today's international politics? Am I clear enough? Okay.
I will try to understand.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, we are called Shanghai Cooperation Organization,
okay.
Not Shanghai. Shanghai is the city.
Okay, yeah, I know that.
Yeah. So I think that Shanghai Cooperation Organization is just an example of an international organization which implements a new type of relationship and new types of doing things. We often speak about so-called Shanghai spirit, which is a number of principles which guides Shanghai Cooperation Organization in all its activities.
Okay.
These principles include mutual equality,
Okay.
very important, mutual trust, mutual profit, and respect for civilizational diversity of all the countries, and strive for common development, and solving all the issues through consultations only. And what is important in Shanghai Cooperation Organization, we don't distinguish, or how to say, differentiate. We don't distinguish countries by their size or their power. All are the same.
Okay.
All are the same, and all enjoy same equal right to express their opinion. And the rule of consensus is very strict. Any country objects against something, decision is not being made.
But Shanghai Cooperation.
Sorry, I just complete my words.
Okay.
What other type of modern international organizations do we need? Of course, nothing is perfect, and Shanghai Cooperation Organization has a lot of things to be improved. Effectiveness, efficiency of the organization should be risen. I'm sorry, I'm not very professional in English.
No, good.
So, but in general terms, I think the basic principles of the SCO are just a model of what international organization should be.
But it's a child of the past. If someone tell you that Shanghai Organization by itself is a child of the past, how it can address?
Challenge of the past?
Yeah, it was born on the basis and on the context which was part of what we call past. But we are entering into the future. Does Shanghai Cooperation have any platform to adapt itself to the changes which is coming? Does it need to maybe reorganize itself? Does it need to rename itself? Or do you think it's okay for the coming challenges?
First of all, it is transforming. Since it has been established, it has been transformed a lot. It has changed.
Okay.
But, of course, it should be monitoring the current changes and adapting itself.
If you, as General Secretary, want to suggest one change which Shanghai needs to actually embrace, what would be the idea? If you want to suggest to the members that this organization needs to change itself in order to embrace the challenges and the questions of the future, what type of change you like to introduce in your organization in order to make it fit for the future?
No, it is not just one. There is a number of changes should be done.
Okay, tell us one or two.
Well, first of all, I think we should adapt the system of making decisions in the organization. Sometimes strict consensus is not very efficient. The other thing, we should provide more high rate of implementation of what we agreed upon.
Okay.
The third, I think we should reduce the number of documents, but increase the number of real practical deeds and projects. And also we should, of course, be able and learn to reach agreement faster on different issues between member states, I mean.
You know that long before Steve Smith, I think many knows his name, he has done a research. Unfortunately, maybe more than 80% of the new ideas in international politics is coming from US universities. 80% of the new ideas coming from US universities. My question is, how the Chinese, Indians, Iranian, others, Russians, what we needs to do in order to make ourselves in a position in creativeness, in sharpness to create new ideas, in order to be more effective at the international level. Because I think BRICS, Shanghai Cooperation, and the South, I'm sorry to say that, the role which they want to play in international politics is not defined by themselves. Is it defined by the others and offered to them? Is there any solution coming to your mind that we, as members of the South, can be more active in producing new ideas, in producing new concepts, in producing new alternatives in different type of theoretical understanding of international politics? What would be your answer coming from India?
No, first of all, let us come out of this, sorry for using this word, from this illusion that all great ideas come from US universities. Problem is, all ideas that come from the West, we simply gulp them and accept them, as though they are sacrosanct. They are not. We have so many ideas about how the world should be, but we speak probably not in English. Mm-hmm. We probably are not coming from those so-called Ivy League universities. Mm-hmm. So we are simply discarded. There the ideas come, but let me tell you, many of the ideas that come out, they are very great ideas, I don't deny. Ideas have no geography. They can come from anywhere. But US universities produce many ideas, great ideas, but many lousy ideas we simply gulp and keep repeating. I give you one example. With all due respects to Joseph Nye, mm-hmm. he said in mid-90s that there is something called soft power. Everywhere we started talking about soft power. In 10 years, Hillary Clinton said, no, there is no such thing called soft power. We need smart power. Then we started talking about smart power. So these ideas, we are just lapping up. Let us question them. Let us contest them. If they are applicable to all of us, accept them. Not because it has come from an Ivy League university that every idea becomes great, or not because it has come from a Tehran university or a Delhi university. It's a lousy idea. We have so many great ideas. We are today talking about strategic autonomy. Strategic autonomy is an important idea that every country should adopt. You should not be fixed into any framework. You have to only think in this framework. Why should anybody else define our framework? We decide our framework. That autonomous approach is one idea that we should practice. Like that, many ideas are emanating from many parts of the world, but unfortunately, probably, as I said, most of us don't speak English. We speak our own languages. We declare English as a global language.
They are barriers to us.
Of course.
And if you want to suggest one, maybe, solution to that problem, because we need to raise our contribution on ideational platform of international politics. I think one missing element in all of our discussion is that the role of the South in producing ideational new concepts, new theories, is a very great challenge to all of us. What I want to say is, do you have any answer to this challenge? And then I will go to China.
Thank you for the question, but again, I would invite all of us to leave the outdated paradigm of security, not placing one particular polar as an enemy, but rather to consider how we can all together all together in the new condition of multipolarity, create some new multilateral instruments. So I think that we should leave also the global south, so-called. We should not have the anti-West agenda.
Okay.
It's not the issue.
Okay.
Why West became the dominant? Because they absorbed all progressive ideas from the not south, from the east, I would say.
Okay.
So that is why it's this artificial distinction between West and global south we should leave definitely. Okay. This is the first. Second, what we should do to increase the so-called local content, okay, or continental content. So pragmatical ways. Within the CICA, we established the Council of Eminent Persons.
Okay.
This is the prominent persons from the member states. From Iran, it's Mr. Salehi. From Kazakhstan, it's Mr. Nazarbayev, and many others.
Okay.
Prominent persons. They will advise the leaders of CICA member states how to put forward the way of our transformation, how Asia should globally act in order to keep the global accord and global security, because Asia is most populous and largest continent in the globe. This is the first. Second, we have on the other academical level, the structure recently established under the Azerbaijani chairmanship. This is the partnership network of leading universities. This is the answer, where we can create our own and speed it up our own ideas within this partnership network. Finally, we have already a nice institution, the think tank forum, where scholars can produce the new ideas for security, for international order. So this is the practical way how we can increase the level of importance of our local ideas to the global level.
Oh yeah, because if we are talking about the concept that reality is changing, this is what we all talking about, then the cognitive map upon which we understand the past needs to be revised. And if it is needed to be revised, who should do it? Then Indians, Chinese, Russians, Iranians, who can contribute in redressing the cognitive map which is needed for the coming situation. This is the challenge. This is one of, in my understanding, this is the most promising challenge which we all face. Otherwise, the others will come and introduce again concepts tailored by themselves, and we again use them for our daily life. This is something which needs to maybe come to a better and new way of actually involving in international politics. In China, do you have this question in your universities, in your institutions, that if the reality is changing, how we can create a new normative foundation for the reality which is evolving, and it is something unknown to all of us? What is the solution in China for that challenge?
I think I don't fully understand part of your question, or I don't fully agree with part of your question, because I haven't calculated, but I'm not sure whether the Western university has contributed 80% of ideas.
In the past?
In the past. But in the morning, I heard your president talk about the globe like a ball, and we live together in the room, no space for fighting, but just a space for fighting for each other's rights. I think this idea is very similar to the China's concept of community with a shared future for mankind. And also, I'm aware that in India, you have something like a family under the sky or something like that. For China, we also have ideas on multilateralism and on equal, orderly, multipolar world and universally beneficial and inclusive economic globalization. We don't lack idea, and also we have the confidence. So I think if you need a suggestion, maybe for think tankers, we need to learn more about each other's idea, study from each other, and to help to communicate and spread those ideas to avoid the situations that everybody study Western idea instead of study from each other.
That's correct. And in Russia?
Can you hear me? That's great, thanks. I would disagree that we lack our own ideas or conceptual frameworks for international relations. We just have to get back to history. Okay. 1997, joint declaration by Russia and China on the multipolar world. 20-something years before it became popular, and most of the global south is now dreaming about multipolar world. We started doing this on bilateral basis between Russia and China 20 years ago. Let's remember that. And two, I'm sorry for self-advertisement here, but I represent a university which was set up in 1943 during the World War II with the single aim that the post-war period and post-world international system and governance needs great diplomats. And those diplomats have to be trained inside your own country. And that means that those countries who have their national diplomatic schools, they have their own national literature on international relations, who have a strong school of history of their own country, history of the region, history of the whole world. Those countries, they have their own ontology or their own understanding of how world works and operates and what is the role of that specific country in that world. And you just go and see in what countries of the global south or whatever region in the world have their own national diplomatic school. Iran has its own school, China has its own school, India has its own school, Russia has its own school, all the neighboring countries of Russia.
All of them in one platform in order to bring the experience of all of them.
This is the forum that we are exactly putting us together.
Exactly. What I wanted to actually comes to is that the necessity for dialogue. This is what I wanted to raise, that if we don't come to the necessity of dialogue, if we don't meet each other on a very frequent manner, if we don't have any exchange of experts, then we will not have the capacity needed for the challenges ahead. This is what and if I want to finish with you, sir, in Shanghai cooperation, do you see any needs for any type of this type of part in your organization to think and to come to new ideas for the future? And if yes, did you have any type of attempt at the past in order to actually create a type of room in your organization only responsible for thinking and create a new type of ideas, solutions for the problems?
Well, thank you for your question. It is really very important that being an intergovernmental and interstate organization, our organization needs scientific and experts support to, as we say, bridge bridge the gap between government bodies and expertise or experts and scientific and analysts. And that's why we have established several structures of this kind, like analytical forum and forum of think tanks and consortium of economic analytical centers, which assist us in working out strategies of development.
That's great.
And as far as the strategy of Shanghai Cooperation Organization development for the years 2015-2025 is finishing now. At the coming summit of the organization in the beginning of autumn this year, we are going to adopt a new strategy for the next decade.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Because I think who win the battle of thinking will win the battle of reality.
And that is just the institute like IPIS, which can help us, and we will be grateful. We will appreciate for some proposals for our future development.
And it was a point which I'd like to end the discussion on that one, and I hope that our discussion brings to your mind, first, the necessity for clear understanding of the concept which we use, South Asia, BRICS, Shanghai. Let's define endeavor for that challenge in Iran, in Russia, in China, in all around the world. And second, let's accept the fact that the more reality is complicated, the more efforts needed in order to understand and to come with the solution. Therefore, or maybe soft power elements in our countries needed to be redefined, needed to be more at the center of the policy. And the third, and last but not least, is that we need to come together to talk about our experience or knowledge more frequent than the type of gathering which we have in Iran, annually meeting. I think we need to maybe emphasize more we need to be connected to each other. The more we are connected to each other, the more we are able to respond to the challenges. Thank you. The great contribution which all of you have. I'm really honored to moderate this distinguished panel. And thank you for your patient listening. I am sure that you have plenty of your questions, but let me to tell you that I believe any meeting which you leave the meeting with question is a good meeting. And I hope that you're leaving this meeting with plenty of questions in your mind, and I hope that you come to the conclusion that we need venue to address those questions in a very intellectual manner. Thank you very much. Thank you.